Morning guys! Today we are doing a men's leather wallet with a decorative stitching. This is the bifold wallet by Sewgnar Patterns. I will put a link in the description for you. But yeah, nice quick little sew. Looks really pretty, just in time for Father's Day. Well, in Australia anyway. Turns out Father's Day is different overseas. I did not know that until recently. Anyway, if you'd like to see how I make this, please stay tuned. Okay guys, so what I have done is I have taken all the measurements of the pieces for the pattern, because these are just given to you in measurements, and I have cut them out of paper and then laminated them, and I've also done the other pattern pieces. So today I will be using this stamped kangaroo leather, which is really cool. I got it from, I'm not even sure where, somewhere in Townsville. But anyway, so the way I cut it is I always trace on the back, and I'm going to use my Chaco pen because if I make a mistake or whatever, I can just wipe it off because it's chalk dust. If you use a pen, you tend to score it. So if you've done the line wrong, then it's still going to mark your leather. So the first thing I do is, I had it over the other way because I've already done this, but I check to see if there's any flaws that I don't want to use in my items. And then I'm just going to line these up along straight edges. So I try and do as many straight edge things as I can because I like to use the rotary cutter and ruler, just because then you get like a very true straight edge. So I'm just going to trace that one. See, I just veered off, but that's okay. And then I'm going to do, so this one, it says cut 2. So I've written how many of everything I need to cut so I don't have to keep going back to check the pattern each time. If I had, you know, awesome CNC cutters and stuff, I would actually make these templates out of acrylic and then I could literally just rotary cut around them. But unfortunately, that's not where I'm at. So with this space down here, I'm going to put one of these along that straight edge because I don't like to waste things. So I can get that pretty close in there, and then you just trace around the shape. Like so. This one also says I need 2, so we're going to go cut those somewhere else. So I'm going to come over to here. There's another straight edge here, but I just want to check to make sure there's no flaws. Then I'm going to line that on that straight edge like that. I only need one of those. So that's those done. So then I still need one more of these. So I'm going to come over here. Now I need to be careful because I use a rotary cutter. I get these little splits where I cut too far. So I just have to make sure that I'm not putting them in with this. Oops, that was definitely a wrong line, but see, it just rubs away, so it's fine. That's why we use Chaco pens. And because it's a wheel, it's not scoring, it's just dropping dust as it goes. So now I need 6 of these bad boys. So again, I'm going to line it up along a straight edge. Now this edge over here wasn't dead straight with the other one, so I've actually moved away from it a little bit so that I won't accidentally think it is. And I can straighten it up with my rotary cutter and ruler. So I'm just trying to put as many straight edges together so then I've got ultimately less cutting to do. Pop this one in here. I also like to try and use the edges and leave the big parts for, you know, big parts. Because in a perfect world, I'd like to get some more out of this. So depending on what I did, I could definitely get something else out of it. I just want to make sure everything's lined up really well though. With handbags, you can be a little bit sloppy with your cutting, but with leather, you have to be precision good. So just take your time. If you've got a Chaco pen, I highly recommend it. If you don't have one and you want to start getting into leatherwork, I also highly recommend it. I love mine. I've just done a restock of them on my website, so I think I've got another 5 available because some already sold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1 more. So I'm going to put that here and use up this little space. So the name of the game is to basically either work from left to right if you've got a big hide, or use all the little parts first, because in here I can now I could get a bender wallet, or I could get half of another one of these. Lots of options. But if I had have just put all those there, I wouldn't have had as much space. So that's why I do it like that. Because leather's not cheap and you don't want to be wasteful. Alright, so now I'm going to take my 14 by 4 inch ruler because it's easily maneuverable, but I'm also not going to cut myself. And my rotary cutter is a Fiskars, I think it's like that ergonomic one. I don't know. It's really comfortable to hold though, so I highly recommend it. So then you just pick an edge, line up your stuff on it, and off you go. So I'm actually going to chop that one off, and then I can come back. So I want to be just on the inside part of the white chalk. I'm just going to slowly go around and chop off the bits. Now these bits were too small for me to save into anything. I don't have anything that I do that's that small. But if they were bigger, I wouldn't, if that was a bigger piece, I would have cut closer around it so I could use it for something else. So there's one. Perfectly straight edges everywhere. So they're all going to be very, very uniform. So I'm going to come over here and do this one. So I only want to cut just past the point where I need it to be cut to. Then I'm going to come over and do this side. Like that. And so now I can bend this over out of the way and do this one here. You don't have to disconnect it to be able to cut it. When you get closer to that edge, you want to go slowly so that you don't cut into that piece. There you go, another piece done. So anyway, I'm going to continue doing these pieces and then we're going to go pop over to the sewing machine. So I'm going to do a contrasting thread, and there is a lot of top stitching in this. You can actually skip the top stitching if you don't want to do it, but I like the look of it, so I'm going to. So on my black vinyl, I'm going to be doing a gold top stitching. So what I want to do is I want to top stitch 1, 2, 3 of the edges on all 6 of my little pieces. So the littlest pieces, which are the card slot pockets, I'm going to top stitch all of them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to manually crank one and then go back into that first hole, and then I can stitch up and around. So I'm doing a 1/8 of an inch from the edge. If you want to get closer, you can. You don't want to go too far in or you won't see them though. And then 1 back stitch and then 1 forward stitch. And that's that one done. So just so you can see, I will be chain stitching the rest, but just so you can see, so we've got, you can just see the 1 back stitch in each of the corners and then up, across and down. So that is what all 6 are going to look like. Well, theoretically, unless I botch them. So 1 back through that first one, that just locks the stitches in so that they don't come undone later. Like so. The trick with leather is don't go too fast. If you make a mistake, you can't hide it like you can in other fabrics. It's like vinyl. Once you pierce a hole, you can't unpierce it. So I'm going to chain stitch them so I can save thread, is pretty much my main reasoning for that. And I just pull it out a little bit so it's not in the way for the next one. But I find this the easiest way for me. You don't have to chain stitch them. You can do them one at a time so you can check them. And again, you can skip this step if you're new to leatherwork. You can skip this. You could also manually hand stitch it if you wanted to. You could make all of these a different color and have like rainbow. You could also make the card slots a different color to the outside. You are limited by your creativity on that one. What you do want to try not to do though is pull and stretch the leather, because it can do that and you don't want that. So don't tug on it. Okay, so that is now all of those done. So I'm going to come along and cut off all my tails. So we don't want them sticking out at all. You can even leave a little bit if you want to and then grab a lighter and melt it down. But just don't burn your leather. So be really quick with your cigarette lighter. I know it's a lot of cutting now, but it's quicker than having all those tails. Now we just got little ones. Okay, so now we need our two bigger pieces and our bigger piece template. So I've ruled the lines. So these lines here that come on the pattern are where you're going to place your card slots. So the way I do it, I've grabbed the wrong ruler, hold on. Grab a decent ruler, measure. Oh no, I could have used the other one. So you want to measure how far up the first one is, and then you're going to use that and mark that with your ruler and the Chaco pen. And again, we're using this because it's erasable and it's easy to erase. So I'm going to mark that one, and then I'm going to mark the next one as well. Like so. And again, chalk dust. You can just blow off the excess or shake it if you don't want to blow on it. Okay, so now grab one of your card slots and line the bottom up with the bottom of that top line. So we're going to work from the top down. Now, once you've got it in place, you may want to clip it on the side to hold it there while you stitch it. This will help with precision. You don't even have to use these clips. These funky flatter ones may also be good because they'll hold further along. So I actually might use those instead of wonder clips today, because I think they're going to be better for what I'm doing in my half skull that stopped printing in the middle of the night because of an update on my computer. But I refuse to throw it out. It is still useful. Alright, so I'm going to do that to those two. So you want to make sure the edges are lined up and the bottom is lined up. So it's nice and centered, and then just that one big clip holds it perfectly in place. Now I'm not going to stitch all the way across starting from the edge. I'm just going to start from the bottom of the actual leather. Couple of back stitches. Now you're not going to see this because I've still got to put another pocket over the top, but that doesn't mean you want it to be messy. So we're still just going to do forward stitch, back stitch, like so. Then we're going to chop the tails off now so that we can get to them nice and easy. And then grab the next pocket piece and line it up at the next line. 1 and 2. My light is dying. I need to put new batteries in, so it's a little bit harder to see than normal. Then I'm going to chop this one off. Now I can chainsaw. So grab up my next pocket. Take the clips off out of my way. Line it up along that line. And then make sure both my sides are centered so that everything is even. And then again, we're going to go and we're going to chop off all the tails. Like so. So with our last one, we're doing the last one a little bit differently. We're not going to stitch along the bottom yet. That's later. But we are going to line this one up along the bottom. And then I'm going to actually clip it along the bottom instead. You want to make sure it's perfectly lined up. It's worth taking the time to make it good. Okay, so now we've got 2 of these. What we want to do is we want to stitch down the side of opposite ones. So I want to stitch here and then here. So I'm going to start along the top. Back stitch, and then slowly go down the side. And the reason we're going slowly is because there's a lot of layers there. So now I want to do the opposite side, so I'm going to twist this one and start from the bottom and then go up. And that will ensure that I've got opposite sides going on. Like so. And now technically these pockets are attached. Not all the way, but we're not up to that yet. So now we've got 2 outside pieces and your cash divider. So you want to take your cash divider. Now the edges that you just sewed, you want to the center, and you want to line up the top edge. So you're going to probably want a fair few clips for this. By the way, these are called alligator clips. I think they're actually hair clips, but they work really well. So I'm using them. So the idea is the bottom is going to hang over. That's meant to happen. So if it is, you're doing it right. I just thought I'd point that out. And just hold one on the side. So now the only section we're going to stitch is this top edge. The sides all come later, but I just want them all there so that it holds it all together. So I just want to stitch along the top edge. So I'm joining all the card pieces to the cash divider. And it's also giving a top stitch along that top edge. And I'm going to go all the way along so that it looks decorative and nice. I'm going to keep the other clips on there for now. So now you're going to have little pockets in here, and your cash divider is now looking more like a divider. So now we're up to joining this. If you want to, you can stick some spray glue or non-spray glue. I'm going to just stick some double-sided tape to help hold this together. So I'm putting this on the back of the leather. And then peel that off. And then we want to line this up pretty accurately, because this is ultimately like the wallet. The reason I'm using double-sided tape is because I find it a little bit easier and more forgiving, because I can pull it off and redo it if I did it wrong. Which apparently is happening quite a lot, so let's try it a different way. It's also not helping that my leather is bent here. I had it hanging over something, but this particular piece was just a little bit stuck. Okay. That was much better. Now, I haven't cut these 100% accurate. I can see here, I don't know if you can see how there's just that tiny little lip? I know it's like 1 mil, but that's not the point. I'm going to trim it off and make it even. And apparently I can't cut it from that way, so I have to do it from this way. So obviously that is like the most minor piece ever, but it will affect the perfection that is your wallet. So it's coming off. Like that. That was obviously just my cutting error. It possibly was because it was a little bit buckled. A way to fix that is just like lay your leather down flat and put weights on it to flatten it out. Okay, so now we're going to take our rest of the wallet that we've done, and we're going to line up the bottom of the pockets with the bottom of the wallet. And then so you want your sides and your bottom to be touching, but the top edge is not. And then we're going to grab lots and lots of pins or clips. Don't use pins in leather. That was the wrong word. See, and so now we will be eventually stitching along that bottom pocket. My phone keeps getting alerts, so that sudden thing was because my phone lit up white and I thought the video had cancelled itself again, which is obviously not ideal. So I'm using lots and lots of alligator clips because I don't want this to shift while I'm stitching it, because that would be disastrous. Okay, so that is everything now lined up. So now I want to stitch, but I'm not going to start in the corner, but we want to do all 4 sides. So I'm actually going to start at the top, roughly in the middle, and I'm not going to back stitch because I'm going completely around. I can go over my first stitches. So what I want to do is I'm just going to lift this up so that I'm not going to stitch the pocket shut. I just want to stitch the other piece. I want to make sure that my tails, I'm actually going to hold them this time because I don't want them to be entangled anywhere. And I'm just going to stitch along. So I'm just pulling this up just a little bit so that I don't accidentally stitch it. It's not in the way of my stitch line, but it is in the way of the edge of my foot. So I'm going to go to there, and then I'm going to pivot and pull off one of these and then stitch very slowly because, again, there are many, many layers here. You want to make sure that you're going to stitch them all slowly and deliberately so that it's neat. And then again, needle down and pivot. And then along the bottom. So this one shouldn't be, this one only has 3 layers along the bottom. And then here it's only got 2. And then we're going to go back up to 3. So just be aware that you're going to be doing this a lot with your machine. So slow and steady, or not even slow and steady, just slow is how you win this race. And then again, we're going to turn and I'm going to pull this out of the way. So I'm going to go through one hole, but I'm actually going to pull this out and chop it with a big tail. So now I can take the 2 on this side and tie them in a knot so that it's less obvious that they exist. So I'm actually going to do a double knot. And then chop them off. And then switch it over and do the same thing again. You don't want to pull it so tight that you're going to pull all the threads out of whack. We're just making that bit so it won't come undone. And voila, men's wallet. So you've now got a cash section there. You've got a section behind all of the cards and then your cards as well. So I hope that was like a fun little tutorial. My husband actually carries this wallet, and I made one for a gentleman the other day. So I hope that was useful, helpful, whatever. And please feel free to share your version and all the colours that you chose in my Facebook group. All right, bye guys.